What's up, guys? Eric Coates here. Boy, my hair. Whew, I need a haircut. So welcome to the video for today. So I haven't posted in a little bit. For a while there, I was doing a learning Ruby playlist. You know, I kind of was doing some stuff that I noticed on Reddit here and there, but I think this channel is gonna take a different direction now, because an opportunity is going to present itself for me, and it's a big opportunity, and so I'm going to pursue it. But to do that, I'm going to have to try and switch things up a little bit with the stack that I'm in. And so let's just talk about it. So, long story short is there's a very good chance that I'm going to land an interview with a FANG company. I'm not going to specify which one, but there's a good chance that I'm going to be able to land an interview with them. And up to this point, as you know, if you've been following, all of my programming knowledge is in the web stack, right? So I don't have, most of my programming knowledge is in the web stack. So that being, JavaScript and PHP, big ones. And then certain things, like I have some Python, not a whole lot, some Java, some C# here and there. But mostly, it's PHP every day and vanilla JavaScript. So the opportunity for one of those interviews is coming up. Now, if you know my past, you know that I don't have a traditional background in computer science. I started in hospitality and then slowly but surely worked my way over into programming, first with VBA development and web development, followed I own my own company where I do a lot of WordPress development, and I was learning Ruby and Ruby on Rails. However, the opportunity that I have, the biggest issue is that they won't allow you to interview in PHP. They also don't use, I think they use Java in their stack. So that being said, I need to, when I get an interview, I need to make sure that I can do your typical data structures and algorithms. Now, I've done code wars before. I've done some leak codes, but I find them extremely difficult. And I think you're supposed to, even the easy ones. I think this happens a lot to people. They go and they see, they've been programming for a year or 2 years, or they can build stuff out, and they go to, they're like, this should be easy problems. And then they realize that they're actually very difficult. And it's mostly because you haven't been taught how to think about the problems that are presented. What do I mean by that? Well, I think I've talked about it on this channel before. I don't know if I did it on this channel or if I've done it on my podcast, but the basic premise for data structures and algorithms is they're like math, okay? You have to know the steps involved in solving the problem. You can't do that until you know the steps, right? So let's think about it. Let's take a simple equation, simple algebraic equation, and we'll say, 3x plus 5 equals 20. So let's say that's our equation, right? 3x plus 5 equals 20. So you have to know, if we want to solve for x, how to do that. Someone actually has to show you what you're supposed to do, because if you see that, you'll be like, I don't know what to do with this. If you've never seen an algebraic equation before, if you don't know the reason that we do algebra, right, it's not gonna sink in with you. You have to be shown by somebody how to do that, right? And so the steps you take to solving that problem is you have to try to balance the equation, right? So again, 3x plus 5 equals 20. So what do? Well, we take the 5, which is on one side as a positive, and then we have to bring it to the other side as a negative. So what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do the other side. So we subtract 5 from one side, we subtract 5 from the other side. What does that leave us with? That leaves us with 3x equals 15. So 3x is the same thing as 3 times x. So if we divide one side by 3, that'll give us x. If we divide the other side by 3, that'll give us 5. X equals 5. That's the solution to that equation. Now, there's no possible way, well, maybe some people, some sort of genius like you, I don't know, would be able to figure out that that's what you're supposed to do with that, right? You need to not only, so this is the other thing, not only do you need to have the concepts of addition and subtraction, you need to have the concept of equality, you need to have the concept of multiplication and division, and then you need to abstract it out to variables too to solve that problem. So I'm getting to the meat and potatoes of the point, right? If you don't know what addition is and you don't know what multiplication is, how are you going to be able to solve that equation, right? Same principle applies to data structures and algorithms, okay? If you've never seen these concepts before, how are you supposed to know how you're supposed to solve them, right? And so, point of the matter is, and the reason I'm doing this video today is I don't have that traditional background in computer science. Again, I'm kind of like your bootstrapped, brought myself up. I did take a boot camp, in the MERN stack. We can cover stuff like this. But I don't have that traditional computer science background. So I excel in being able to build things and to get things to work. But the theory of things, I don't. And this is why I find LeetCode, Code Wars, why I find them challenging, because these are concepts that are a gap in my understanding of programming. It's not that I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do it. It's that I've never seen how to do it. So how can I tap into knowledge that I already have, unless I've actually seen the right way to do it? Now, could I go and rig something up? Yeah, doing a loop inside of a loop, trying to solve some of these things, sure. But if I've seen a concept before, it's gonna be a lot easier for me to pull it out of my tool belt, right? And use it. So, that being said, I know I suck at data structures and algorithms. So, I need to work on those. And although any spot you could go to LeetCode, Code Wars, I think there's Algo Expert, it's all these different platforms. They all have the ability to learn these concepts in PHP. The problem is, the interview I'm gonna get, PHP is not allowed to interview in. So, I could stick with JavaScript to do it, but I don't think that's the right answer, because JavaScript, is not statically typed. There's a lot of, unless you're using TypeScript, but it's not statically typed. There's a bunch of things that are different about the language, and it's a language I already know. So my thought is, and it's a language that they're not really using in their stack. So my thought is, all right, well, if I'm going to be learning data structures and algorithms anyways, which are foreign concepts, I might as well be learning Java at the same time. Now, I know there's going to be people out there that's like, oh, don't learn Java, learn C#. And yeah, sure. If that's the route that, you personally want to go. For me, I feel like if you learn Java, you have an even easier time learning C#, because basically C#, took what Java did and just made it better. But the verbosity of Java for me helps me understand what's happening. And I'll give you a great, for instance. So I did a C# project. I didn't do it. I inherited, I should say. So I had to make changes and stuff to this project. And the amount of what I would call magic that goes on, it's very abstract from what you're actually trying to do. And Java has a lot of abstraction as it is. So like the way that you do getters and setters and constructors, and there's a lot of magic that's happening there. And so I try to stay out of frameworks when I'm learning like a new language or whatever it is, just so I can really conceptualize everything. And to me, that's a strength on Java side with the verbosity thing. Like, it's a pain in the butt having to type all this out, but it's really going to help you understand how to do that. And if it's the Java stack anyways, I might as well just be learning that and the data structures and algorithms at the same time. So then begs the question, how do I do this, right? Well, I want to say, was it Hacker Stack maybe? So I usually use VS Code, but I know that IntelliJ is out there and it's really great for Java programming. So I looked into it and I've been trying to find, a course for Java. Now I could go to Udemy and get a course there. Some courses are good, some courses are not, but what's nice about, like I said, I think it's Hacker Stack, is that it's built into the browser. It's much like the boot camp that I took, where a lot of the stuff was actually physically in the browser itself, which also helps because I have an outdated MacBook, which causes a whole bunch of errors in its own. So I have to, remote desktop my Windows machine so that I can run certain things. And so for me, that's going to work really, really nice. The problem that I have is it's going to start at a level that I'm very much past, right? Like when it comes to variables and other stuff like that, like I don't really need any of that to understand. Like I already understand a lot of it, even with strictly typed, because PHP does do strictly type stuff. I mean, it's not strictly typed, but you can force it, you can say public string or whatever it is. In PHP, it supports that. At least PHP 8 does. I think PHP 7 does too. But either way, I have to bite the bullet, right? I have to say, all right, well, if I'm going to spend, I think it's $120 on IntelliJ anyways. And I also get PHP Storm with that. So my everyday is going to get better at work, using PHP Storm is going to be so much better. But if I'm going to spend the money on PHP Storm and IntelliJ, I might as well spend a little bit more and get this whole course, this whole Java roadmap that they have built out in the web browser as well. That's awesome. Because what I tried to do was much like I did with Ruby on Rails, if you've been following, I tried to go right into Spring Boot and set up a project. And to my credit, I was able to get something on the screen. But then I got dealing with like this thing called TimeLeaf, which is like the templating engine that I guess is the most popular one. And like the way that was handled and the way that I was looping over stuff, like I really didn't quite understand it. Now, I didn't read the documentation. I didn't go deep dive in or anything. I was just trying to see if starting a project would be the way to go in learning, Spring Boot and Java. Turns out it's not. Okay, there's too much, dependency injection and all these different things that are going on, too much abstraction to really kind of conceptualize what I wanted to do. So I decided, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to take the deep dive and I'm going to bring you guys along with me. So I'm going to document my journey as a Java developer from PHP to Java. Now, the thing I like best about Java is that I can still use it on the web stack, so that is really great. Spring Boot it's a popular web framework that's built on top of Spring. And so for me, I can still do web. It's just doing it in a different language, but taking concepts that I've already really had sink into my brain and into my memory, and then applying them in something that I understand, which is going to help solidify my understanding of Java. So my goal is this interview is I'll be able to take this interview once I kind of say that I'm ready to take it. So when I say I'm ready to take it, that's when the interview will actually happen. Now, with this, so what the goal is, I guess, is to take the next 6 months, really familiarize myself with Java, really familiarize myself with data structures and algorithms in Java, and just kind of like hold myself accountable so that I am forced to continually, gives me a reason to continue down the journey, not only to land a job at FANG, but also to motivate, to see if there's other people out there that are kind of going through the same thing, and to share anything that I learn along the way. Because, if you can watch a video and learn a whole bunch of stuff that I did wrong and save you time, that's probably worth it. But that's the update on the channel. Sorry, Ruby people. I gotta put all my focus that's not in my 9 to 5 on PHP and JavaScript into Java, because an opportunity is presenting itself for me to significantly change my life, and so I have to take it. And so, like I said, keep watching for more content. I'm gonna continue to post stuff here and take you along the journey with me. All right. So that's where we are, and that's where I stand. Again, if you like the video, give it a like, thumbs up. Let me know what you, if you have any questions, if there's stuff that you have recommendations for me as I go through this journey of things I should know, things that are important to focus on, things that aren't. Let me know. I'd appreciate your input. All right, guys. So that's Eric Codes. Talk to you next time.